When I think of the word hood, I think of a person, a place, and perhaps even a thing. I'm Sir Creepsta, and welcome to Municipal County Ghost Stories from the Hood Shorts. So, sit back, relax, grab your snacks, and be terrified by the stories that I'm about to share with you. The year was 2011. Deanna, Wallace, and RC had been chilling at the kitchen table at Deanna's house, having been engaged in a friendly game of backgammon for the past couple of hours. Roy, or RC for short, had recently lost his old man to the Grim Reaper, and his spirits had been at an all-time low, as a feeling of resentment had taken over his mind, wishing that he had spent more time with his dad when he was still alive. So the idea of playing a little friendly game of backgammon as an attempt to try to uplift him sounded good to everyone present at the time. RC, for the most part, was a pretty low-key guy, and other than Deanna and Wallace, the only people that he really hung around with were his own son Dakota, Dak for shorts, and a couple of longtime friends of both he and Deanna named Brandy and Shortcake. Therefore, the sudden death of his father had clearly taken a toll on him. But for some reason, on this particular night, he appeared to be a little more upbeat than usual. As the group of friends were about to call it quits for the night, RC's phone started ringing. When he glanced down at his phone to see who it was calling him, the room went cold and silent, and the look upon Roy's face went pale and lifeless as he slowly raised his head up and glanced at Deanna and Wallace, uttering out the words, "You guys will never guess who it was that's calling me right now." Before he would reveal to Deanna and Wallace who it was, with a horrified look upon his face, he answered the phone, saying quietly, "Hello." He held the phone closely to his ear for a couple of minutes, and then, without uttering out another word, he slowly hung it up. After hanging up his phone, he sat there in a trance-like state in total silence another minute or so, and with a conflicting look of both terror and joy written all over his face, he revealed to Deanna and Wallace that it was his dear old dad who had somehow called him from his grave, telling him how much he loved him, and for him not to worry anymore over him, nor shed any more tears, because everything is okay, and that he's going to be just fine hanging out with the Lord 24/7. Afterwards, RC would tell Deanna and Wallace that the phone call from his dad was something that he had definitely needed, for it gave him the closure that he had been painfully seeking, and allowed him to go on with his life, knowing that his old man was in a much better place, forever resting in the arms of God. Daryl and his younger brother Rudy had just finished up with a trick-or-treating, and had gathered in the kitchen of their home to dump out all of the candy that two of them had gathered up while trick-or-treating onto the large kitchen table, and were in the midst of separating the candy bars from the rest of the candy. By now, the entire family had all gathered together in the kitchen to see how much candy the boys had come up with, when out of nowhere they heard a faint knock at the front door. The knock took the entire family by complete surprise, because normally whenever anyone approached their house, they were greeted by the frantic barking from an enormous, menacing German Shepherd that went by the name of Satan. Not knowing what to make of the fact that Satan hadn't made a sound, the father asked Rudy if he would see who it was knocking at their door this time of night. It was around 9 p.m., and most of all the trick-or-treaters had come and gone from the Maupin's residence. When Rudy, the youngest child, opened the door, to his surprise, in the doorway stood a person dressed in what appeared to be the best devil costume that he or his family had ever seen. Before Rudy had a chance to say anything, the person in the costume opened the door and walked right past him, closely followed by Satan, who ran up under the house and kitchen table and fled up under the table, with his ears flopped down the side of his head, hair standing up, on his massive body and his tail tightly tucked between his legs, apparently scared to death from whom or what this person was. As the person in the devil costume made its way into the house, not a sound was made from anyone as the entity slowly walked around the table, looking at each and every one in the room with its piercing red eyes, who at that time appeared to be in a trance-like state. Then it slowly made its way back out the front door, never once uttering a single word to anyone at the kitchen table. Once the entity was gone, the temperatures in the room went back to normal, and everyone in the room snapped out of their trance-like state and began to question who or what in fact it was that had just come into their home, scared the hell out of everyone, even the guard dog, and seemingly left and then vanished without a trace once reaching the outdoors. It would be weeks before Satan would get back to acting like his normal self. Until this day, neither of the brothers have a clue of who or what it was that had paid them a visit on that cold Halloween night. But the brothers would go on to say that if in fact it was a person in a devil's costume, that it undoubtedly was the best one either one had ever seen, pitchfork and all. Marie had just about to finish up the evening dinner when she realized that there were a couple of things that she needed to complete the large pot of homemade chili that she was preparing for the dinner. So she went into her bedroom, grabbed up her purse, pulled out a crisp $5 bill, and then handed it to her eldest son, Wallace, asking him to run to the store to get the rest of the ingredients that she needed to finish the chili. Wallace then put on his coat and went out the front door. After crossing the railroad tracks in front of his house and then cautiously navigating his way through the territory of the infamous North First Street Boys, he proceeded to safely make his way to Ken's grocery to quickly snatch up the things for his mom's. By now it was pitch black dark outside, so Wallace hurriedly went through the store, gathering up the items for his mom's and as quickly as he possibly could, all along trying to beat the 6 o'clock traffic that ran up and down Highway 431, which was also known as North 3rd Street, to the people who lived on the outside of town. Mrs. Wanda, the wife of the store owner, conversed with Wallace as she slowly backed up the things that he had gathered. Wallace glanced out the store's front door, recognizing that it was getting darker and darker by the minute, fully aware that at this time in Central City was not the place for anyone to get caught outside after dark, especially if you happen to live in the hood, due to the crazy, unexplained things that often took place. As Wallace exited the store and he safely crossed the busy street, he slowly proceeded to walk up the sidewalk as he eagerly made his way back home. About midways up the sidewalk, Wallace thought that he had heard a strange sound coming from one of the cars parked in the driveway. So he picked up his pace and proceeded to walk even faster. With his heart racing at the speed of light, he thought for a second that he had saw a head raise up and quickly duck down from behind one of the cars that he was approaching. This caused him to stop dead in his tracks for a quick second. As he slowly approached the car, a person jumped out from behind the car resembling his dad. The sudden shock scared Wallace so bad that he nearly dropped the bags he was holding as he struck out running towards the hood. Upon arriving home, Wallace was immediately greeted by his mama, who had patiently been waiting for his arrival with her goods. At that point, his dad, who also had been patiently awaiting his return, entered the room wondering what all the commotion was about. It was then that Wallace looked at his dad in total disbelief, asking him why did he jump out and try to scare him. With a confused look on his face, his dad responded back to Wallace, saying that he had been home all along and that he doesn't know who or what it was that he had seen. To this day, Wallace never found out who or what it was that had scared him so badly on that cold December night. All he knows is that whatever it was, it looked exactly like his dear old dad. That's all for tonight, guys. Hope you enjoyed the stories. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more terrifying true tales from the hood. I'm Sir Creepsta, and until next time, stay terrified.